And we have Johnny Three Tears from Hollywood Undead joining us today. Talk about the new single, new label, new masks, new record. I got to start off. Does it sort of feel like a rebirth and a new beginning for Hollywood Undead to a certain extent with all those new things happening?
Yeah, dude. I mean, every time we start coming out with new music and like a new chapter, it's kind of it's always one of those periods where you kind of get excited again. And we always try, I think, especially musically, to focus on advance or progressing to some degree. I hate using that word because it's not like purposely changing, but my favorite part of being in a band, I guess, or music is the initial reaction to kind of what you do and what how you shift and stuff. So for me, that's like that little time period of when you put out new music is absolutely like my favorite time. So it's always fun and it's always exciting. Even when when people like it, when people hate it, it's still always my favorite aspect of being in the band.
So let's jump right into it. You have a new single, Hollywood Forever. It's kind of a tribute to the fans and an anthem for their unwavering support. So, what was it about the fans that were sort of like the catalyst or the inspiration for this new song?
Like it's funny because we came up with the we were all in the studio and conceptualizing songs can kind of become difficult after you've written like hundreds of them. You kind of like there's only so many times you can write a love song or what so you start almost have to. That's why I think bands write concept records is you have to start to kind of like have a road to go down. So we were discussing our fan base and kind of how they've been with us, and so we were talking about how some of these people we've known since they were the same age as us and now they have kids and people have gotten married, and it's just kind of a fascinating thing to watch and be a part of. And we started talking about where we would be had this not been the case. And you do, and most people in bands would probably understand, like when you write music and people care about it, that's very meaningful for us. But we get that when we talk to fans and they say that we help them through tough periods in their life, or help them through the worst periods of their life. It's the ultimate kind of it's what makes all the bad parts worth it. And we are starting to think about it because what would our lives be like without Hollywood Undead? And I don't think they'd be, good. There, we were all, in pretty rough spots and stuff like that. So we wanted to write a song, kind of flipping that on its head, where we kind of told them the same thing they tell us, like, hey, just so you know, we'd be in a pretty bad place if it wasn't for you guys too. And we found the whole thing kind of cool because I wasn't aware of any songs like that, and it would kind of when we thought of it, it kind of was a spark. And I think it was something that not only our fans but fans in general deserve from bands, because who knows what these guys would be doing if it wasn't for the people who listen to music and go to shows. So we owe them everything, and we want them to know that.
Is it weird to have them come to you and like sort of bare their soul, like, hey, I was in a dark place, hey, your music helps be that guiding light to get me through it. Show their pledge through tattoos, and you guys have a really hardcore fan base. So is it hard to wrap your brain around that sometimes when people tell you those sorts of things?
I mean, yeah, it's amazing. It's really touching. And the cool part, when I was that same person when I was a youngster. I remember I got a tattoo of some AFI lyrics. I got a Deftones tattoo. I was that same kid. So those were those bands that like I related to in that same sense. So like a lot of people in those formative years in particular, music is really what drags you kind of through those rougher time periods. It's your shoulder to cry on for many of us. And I've been there. So to be that for somebody else, it's certainly an extraordinary thing for me. And it's kind of surreal. And it's an honor in a lot of ways because I've been on the other side of it. And to be that for somebody else, I couldn't think of a greater honor out of at least being in a band or making music. What more could you really want than that? All the money in the world and all the other crap couldn't hold a candle to doing something like that for someone else.
The music business has a tendency to move at like a breakneck speed and doesn't really offer a lot of time for reflection or living in the moment. As you sort of get on, and you're a veteran at this game, is it important to sort of stop and take everything in and appreciate those moments?
Oh yeah, dude, absolutely. I mean, in the music business is very unforgiving too, as you know, there's no band that I'm aware of that just your career is going to fluctuate. You're going to have so many ups and downs, bad periods, good periods, and like anything else. And so you certainly need to pause and enjoy the good moments because there's going to be plenty of bad ones. At least, I mean, maybe there's some band out there that's never had that. I don't know of any. Um, so you know, it's imperative, but I think that goes for any walk of life. You know, it's funny. We're in Brisbane. There's this like this crazy bay with all these big buildings, and it's just beautiful. And we walked up there last night, and you know, I always when we have those little moments, I always pause and go, "Hey, dude." Because you know I can bitch all day about not getting any sleep or having to play 3 shows back to back to back and flying every morning. You know, there's plenty to bitch about sometimes. So, you know, pausing and kind of looking at the go, hey, dude, you're in Australia. You're about to play to fans that, you know, 6,000 miles away or whatever that care about your music. You have to do that. And I think that goes for everybody in every walk of life. And I try and keep that in mind and to keep my head in the game in the right way. Because if you don't allow yourself to do that, you'll get lost in all the other stuff pretty easily.
Is it easy to sort of get lost in that? Like the music business is like a tumultuous business. So like, is it easy to get to like focus on the negative and dwell on things at
Yeah,
times?
well, I mean, there's just a lot of assholes. You know, you start to realize as time goes on. You know, the music business is run by businessmen. It's not run by musicians. So it's not like run by guys who give a crap about whether your album's good or not. They care about whether your album sells or not. And through time, you know, I remember. Like you know, dudes like from my first record label, right? Like my first kid's baby shower. I thought they were like my best buddies. Um, but when you stop selling records, you won't be able to get a hold of them, and you know, you slowly start to realize these things as time goes on. And I'm not saying they're all bad, but you have to realize that it's a business first and foremost, and you might meet some cool people along the way, but um, it's not a picnic, and you know, you're working with lawyers and accountants, not guitarists and drummers.
Right. Moving forward, circling back to Hollywood Forever. With this release, you guys brought back the masks. They're new designs by Jerry Constantine, who works
Yeah.
in like prosthetics. What can you tell us about the new masks, and why was now the perfect time to bring back those masks and sort of bring back that theatrical element?
Yeah, well, we've always done them with Jerry. Jerry's awesome, dude. Just so everybody knows, Jerry just got nominated for an Oscar for like he did a Winston Churchill movie, and it was that guy Billy Zane from the Titanic who made him look like Winston Churchill. So just a quick shout out to him. He's done like every horror movie you can imagine, pretty much like all the characters and you know all the masks, you know the everything you could think, the puppeteering, all that. So he's the dude. So luckily, he still will work with us out of nostalgia because we can't afford him. But he's rad, and really the reason was the concept of the song was kind of a historical marker of Hollywood Undead, and if we were going to write about the history of the band and the history of our relationship with our fans, we had to include the masks. It wouldn't be a complete story without them. So right when we decided that, we recorded the song and we got everything down. We're like, dude, we started getting into the video stuff and the imagery, and we knew pretty early on that the mass had to be involved because it's a huge aspect of the history of the band and where we came from and what we were trying to do and the transitory aspects of the band. So we absolutely knew we needed to include them. So it just all kind of melded together, and it was nice too because you know we didn't have to force anything. It all just kind of made sense in the Hollywood Forever moment, um, and it's like it kind of all packaged itself together as one thing. So yeah, you know, it all made sense for us at that point.
Was it sort of about bringing back that theatrical element to the music? Because in recent years and COVID and stuff like that, it seems like rock and hard rock as a genre sort of moved away from that, but there seems to be a resurgence with that sort of thing.
With Mass.
I'm just saying, like the theatrical element of rock and like putting on a show. Like it seems like everybody out
Oh,
there. Yeah, you have so many bands out there that are like, going over the top. It's not like the shoegazing rock that it used to be.
yeah. I mean, dude, I always looked at like Mass, the Mass, like like as far as like performance goes, you can go back to like Greek tragedies or like, they've been used in performance for like thousands of years. And the reason is there's something fucking terrifying about them to me anyway. Um, Seeing a face not move, but noises come from it. It's just like, I find it very arresting, which is what we found compelling about the whole thing. Um, and so the incorporation of it in music, I know it seems really natural. Obviously, we're not the first nor the last people to do this. You got, Sleep Token going hard now, and their imagery is like, I remember the first time I saw Sleep Token, no one knew who they were at that point. Um, I was like, dude, that's fucking terrifying. I was like, that is like, because it was. They have the it's so freakish. Um, and then their music is like the super like progressive melodic stuff. So it's like it's really cool, And then like for us, we do like hip hop stuff. So I've always loved it as a counterbalance to everything else. But yeah, I mean, I've always thought that imagery is a huge aspect of music. As you have this going all the way dating through rock and roll, but long, long before that, in performance in general. So to me, it's just something that adds to the ingredient of the whole thing, and it kind of makes it less human. And I like that. It makes it somewhat supernatural to me. And it comes from the music kind of comes from another place at that point. It takes you away, and so that was always the appeal to us, and continues to be in that sense.
It almost allows you to to transition into a character like an actor, right? So like play that persona behind the mask.
Yeah, totally. And dude, like it's cool to not feel human. I know this sounds weird, but like not be a human being for a minute. Like, you can relate to someone's facial expressions. That's a huge part. A lot of communication is obviously nonverbal. So all of a sudden you're listening to something and you have nothing else to go on but the words. And there's kind of a magic to the whole thing. And it's spooky, and it's really eerie in general. And I just always thought it was pretty fascinating and stuff going all the way back when. And yeah, like those Japanese face masks they used to wear, and their plays, all of it. It's really cool. So we would just want we copied everything we possibly could to do it, and then we incorporated like graffiti, and we were all into like the tag banging stuff in LA in the '90s and stuff. That was like really big when we were young. So we kind of put our own flavor into it, and the hockey mask thing was something people used to use when they tagged at the. I don't know if you know what the LA River is, but back in the
Yeah.
day, I grew up in like East Hollywood. So everybody would go tag at the LA River, and that's where all the gangbangers and shit would hang out, and taggers and stuff. And so everybody wear hockey masks. So if the cops came, blah blah blah. Um, that's why we wore hockey masks. At the beginning was we already had them. Because when we would do, go do stupid shit. And so we had our little street element to it too. So it's just cool, man. And everybody can kind of tell their own story with them. You know what I mean? So it's just cool. It opens up a whole nother window of opportunity of like different expression.
And LA has so many like legendary graffiti crews. You got Risk, you got Can't Be Stopped, like all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
that
CBS was the shit back then.
I'm sure that culture just immersing yourself in it. That it was a special time for sure.
Yeah, you're never gonna get that. Well, dude, now it's every half the people in LA aren't from LA anymore, so it's kind of a different. I don't know. It's weird when I go back because I don't live there anymore. I feel like an outsider. I remember I was in Hollywood, which is where I grew up, and I was on like Figueroa or something, and I forget. And I was wearing like I forget. I was on a corner. I was a flannel, and this girl walked by, and I said something. I was talking to my friend, and she said something rude, and I was like, "What?" She's like, "Oh." She told me to go back to Riverside. And I was like, what? I wanted to be like, dude, because I grew up like 3 blocks from this place. But I realized I was like, this is no longer my neighborhood. Like everybody there is from someplace else, and um, it got so it's like gentrified now. So all the gangbangers got moved out to like Palm Springs area, the high desert, or Palmdale, and I was just like, man, it's just a different place. So I'll always have those core memories of, yeah, LA was a different spot back then, man.
And you're in Nashville now, which like that's like a sort of a musician's paradise. Like a lot of songwriters there. It seems like on
Yeah.
every corner there's a ton of you're just surrounded by music. And I always thought that that was one of the coolest things about Nashville. Is it's one of the last spots that's truly about the music.
Yeah, dude. It's one of the few places if you work in the music business that you can live outside of LA, and even more so now. Um, it's really difficult to, where at least in 10, 15 years ago, it was really hard to live anywhere else but LA when we were in our business. Obviously, country's been thriving there for a long time, but now it's kind of everything. Like all the major labels have offices there, and um our label's based there now too. So Samarian moved there from LA. So it just kind of made sense. And I was kind of over the rigmarole of LA, so I still go back all the time. We record there, we work there. I'm there, I don't know, 3, 4 months a year. So it's not like I don't go back. But yeah, it was time for a change. It's a different place, man. I mean, I guess I remember hearing old people talk about that when I was young. Oh, when I was like a kid, this was like this or that, and you're like, oh, shut up, whatever. And now I'm that same dude.
But Nashville seems to
Sadly,
be like Nashville seems to have become like a hotbed. You have like guys like Head from Corn are there, like you said, Samarian are there.
dude.
I think Dave
Dude,
Mustaine's
every
there.
band I know, half the bands I've toured with throughout my career, I get a call once a week. There was a point where it was even more than that, of like, hey, what's it like out there? Where should I move if I move there? I mean, everybody has moved there. I know at least 10 bands that live there, and guys from bands that live there. And just in the past few years, it's astronomical. I know more people in bands that live in Nashville now than I know that lived in LA. Um, so it's really worked out. And for bands, it makes a lot more sense. If you're going to be on the road all the time and stuff, especially if you're a young band struggling, you're not making it money. LA is fucking expensive. So if you're going to be on the road all the time and you're renting some apartment in North Hollywood, spending $3,000 a month on some shack, it's like, dude, go move, someplace in the Midwest, someplace else where you can, at least get something more livable, because you don't really need to be in LA anymore. So you're seeing a big transition of the music industry, kind of getting out of New York and out of LA, which I think is much, at least, healthier for young artists. Dudes in bands, when they're young and they're starting out, they don't make any goddamn money. So LA and New York are like the worst fucking places for them to be. Um, so it's much better for up and comers to be someplace where they can at least have a normal life and not have to starve themselves to pay rent.
It's interesting that you're touring with Tech N9ne, and Tech for me was like the first person that sort of like established roots outside of LA, and so was the
Yeah,
first person to like. And I'm not from LA. I don't need to be. The music business can come to me in Kansas City.
dude, he's a king. I mean, people don't realize how much tech, or maybe I'm glad you do, but a lot of people don't realize how much tech really influenced the game in general. This at the peak of West Coast, East Coast hip hop. This guy was like, "Nope, fuck you guys, Kansas City," and made that cool. And to be able to make Kansas City cool in the '90s, that's pretty hardcore, dude. Because there was no one else. Dude, Miami wasn't cool. Um, you know, even Chicago wasn't cool, but he made Kansas City like a spot. So yeah, Tech. I mean, he's the dude, man. And he really, you're right. He turned his world. He made everything come to him. He started a whole industry. He has like the dude started a record label. He owns square blocks of Kansas City where he churns out bands and artists and does obviously his own stuff. And he's a brilliant dude. And yeah, man, we're lucky to know him. I've learned a lot since I've met and worked with that guy. He's a very, very smart dude.
Have you been to his compound in Kansas City?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We rehearsed there, and then we did a song with Tech a few years ago called "Idol." Um, it was during COVID, so we went there to shoot our music video with him in like 2021 or something, because we weren't allowed to film yet anywhere else. Like California was still like super locked down. Um, so we went there, and it was the rules were a little more lax and stuff. Actually, they were non-existent. So we went there, and I was pretty proud of this. It's very white boy, but this was like peak White Claw phase, and I hadn't even really gotten into it yet. But we were drinking it, and he came into the studio, and he's like, "Oh, what is that?" And I was like, "It's like some kind of fruit spritzer thing." And he was drinking like I don't know, bourbon or something. And he started drinking them, and he texted me like the next day. He's like, "Yo, this White Claw shit's really good, bro." And I introduced Tech N9ne to White Claw. I don't know of anything more. I don't know of anything whiter I can tell people than that.
Uh, I love it. Text the man. So
No, he did. He's awesome.
and his tour manager too is One Ton is a hip hop historian. That guy can
Oh,
go
he's
back.
awesome, dude.
He can go back and forth for days on all things hip hop. The history. He spits some game as well. So shout out to One Ton.
One Ton's the man, dude. All those guys, Tech N9ne, this whole crew, they're all class acts, dude, from top to bottom.
So what do you think it is that his fan base and your fan base meshed so well that made this first leg of the tour so successful that you came back for a second?
Dude, I mean, who knows? Like, I guess you never really know with those things, dude. We've gone out with bands where like, oh, this is gonna crush, and then like, your fan bases don't. It's always kind of a shot in the dark, and I'm not playing, man. We've gone out with bands where we're like, this is a great package, and it just doesn't work. So when we went out with Tech, it was like, one of the main things is when you vibe with the other guys and stuff, and they're just super cool. We had a really really good time, which is always makes touring a lot more fun. And then yeah, the crowds were great, and the everybody liked everybody on the tour. So yeah, it was great. Why, dude? You got me. But I guess we run in the same circles and stuff, and then obviously Tech's hip hop, but Tech's always dabbled in the rock world, and I guess we were kind of viewed as a rock band, but we've always dabbled in the hip hop world, so it kind of I guess it all made sense. um and then when Ted goes out with us, he brings a band when normally I don't think he does, and we'll like we kind of lean into each other and make it make sense. So but yeah, as far as the fans go, they were stoked, so we were stoked. So we are just like, hey, let's run it back, and we had fun. And Tech's a cool dude to be around. Every time around, I try and learn everything I can from that guy, because he's like, he made the music industry his bitch, dude.
Absolutely. I also his live show is phenomenal. It's more of a rock show than it feels like a hip hop show.
So yeah, dude. In the way he amalgamates everything is just like, it's very fluid. He's perfect. And yeah, dude, he everything he does on his albums he can do live, which is very very rare to see. I don't know how he does that stuff. It's one of those uncanny abilities I've never seen. I don't know anybody else who can do the stuff he does. So it's kind of like, holy crap. But yeah, it's fun to watch every night.
So coming back around to the new record, you guys signed with Sumerian Records. Why was that the best label for Hollywood Undead and the most natural fit?
Well, really, Ash, the dude who runs the label, owns the label. We'd been on majors our whole career. We've been on Interscope and A&M, and then BMG, and there's a good thing about majors. You get a lot of money, and your budgets are huge, and yada yada yada. But there's also a very impersonal aspect to it. They have massive bands, so they're working Kendrick Lamar the same week they're working you, and we're a mid-level band, so a lot of the times your stuff gets lost in the shuffle, understandably so. So we were kind of tired of the major label system. So we started looking at like bigger indies, and weighing our options and stuff. And we met with a bunch of them, talked to a bunch of them, and Ash is really the reason. You're only as good as the people who work your label and run the label. And that dude, he's a super passionate dude. And he believed in the band, he believes in the band, and I believed in him, and that really is all you need. And when you're in a band, all you really want is to get your shot. Like, that's all you can ask for. It's up to you. Your songs are really what are gonna take you one direction or the other. But we felt like this is our best opportunity as far as getting that shot goes. And you, a lot of labels are purely lip service, and of course they're gonna tell you what you want to hear. That's their job. But I felt like Ash was kind of, he's just kind of a no bullshit dude, and he said, "Hey, let's run it." And so we were like, "Let's do it." And that was we've been around long enough and been through enough crap where it's just like, dude, can we just like make some music and put it out? And he was very much in the same mindset. So it just made sense. He's a super cool dude, knows what he's doing, and it's about the music. It's not about all the other stuff. So that was really what it was.
I think he's always thinking outside of the box too. He like different ways to break. He's got a hand in movies. He's got a hand in comic books, music. Like
He's a
trying
genius,
to.
dude. He's super smart dude. He sees things from it, and that's one of the things. When you're a band like us, or you've been around for a long enough time, you need that. Those perspectives are valuable because especially for us, we're inside the box, and we have been for 20 years now. It's very easy to start getting in, the same pattern of thought, and you need someone who sees things differently. He's certainly one of those dudes where he'll look at it from a different perspective and give you different angles. And right from the beginning, he was doing that. And so, yeah, dude, a lot of these guys are just kowtowing and just doing, they're salary employee. I get it. You're just doing what you do. You show up to work, you do what you're supposed to do. Ash is like a creative guy, and he believes in what he's doing, and he's trying to create. And he's really good at it. Look at his label and look at the success he's had. Look at his movies. You have to admire someone who can pull that stuff off. So, yeah, I mean, he's one of the few record execs whose opinion on music I actually value and go, okay, he might actually be right. I'll try that, or we'll try that. So it's refreshing. We worked with Jimmy Iovine way back in the day, and he was the last. That was the last time someone said, "Hey, I think there's this needs more this or that." Where we were like, "Okay, we better listen." It's Jimmy Iovine, and he produced some of the big, huge records, and he's obviously all of Death Row and all that stuff. But most of the time, they're just saying it to say it. But Ash will listen to too because he knows what he's doing, and he's saying it because he means it, not because he wants to just act like he did his job that day.
So, what can you tell us about the upcoming new record? Where is it at? Like, when do you expect it out? What details can you give us?
We got new songs coming out real shortly. Within the next couple months. We're not as far as like a new record. I don't know. I don't think we're even planning on. Well, at least as of now, I think those days are numbered. As far as putting out like, hey, here's an album with like 15 songs on it, and I mean, at some point that will happen. But as of now, we're just kind of just releasing songs. We have a bunch of songs lined up. We're going to release songs. At one point, we'll probably package them with some other songs and put out a record for those who want them. But like, dude, cars don't even have fucking CD players in them anymore. What are we going to release a record for? No one buys them. No one, unless, except for like people who like vinyl. Um, and now, like, so it's like, it's funny because outside of the artwork, there's almost no incentive to make an album anymore. So we'll see what happens. But as of now, we're just going to release songs and, videos and all the other stuff, and eventually maybe package it into a record for people who want like physical product or tangible product. But yeah, like as far as releasing an actual album, I have no idea. I don't even know if anybody's going to do that anymore.
It seems like you put out a record and like 10 days later, people have already forgotten about it.
Dude, it's in the streaming era. It's a bummer. Dude, I used to love and buying an album, and you read the liner notes and the thank yous. It was like an event. But then again, I didn't have access to the back catalog of the world either. So it was like I spent $20. I'm gonna go through this whole. Oh, I listen to every word and da 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 da. Now it's like, dude, you're lucky if people listen to the first 30 seconds of every song on your album. So it's like, yeah, and no one wants the physical product. So it's kind of it's been negated by the streaming world. And if you don't adapt to that, it's it really is just kind of wasteful. And then the back half of your record, no one listens to anyway. So you're getting bummed out because you might have some really good stuff that you like care about. And now you're like, well, no one's listening to those songs. So yeah, I think it's funny because the hip hop world's been doing this mixtape stuff for forever. 2, 3 songs here, 2, 3 songs there, a lot of collabing. Rock is just now catching up to that. Hey, let's call up Ice Nine Kills and do a song together. Let's do some stuff with Papa Roach. Oh, let's do something with a Trey, whatever. Hip hop's been doing this forever, and now rock is like coming around to the same avenue because Now it makes more sense because yeah, people don't want to buy albums, and they've realized, hey, you know what? Not every song has to be this massive event. You can just take some, like, hey, let's record a song today and put it out next week. Why not? If people don't like it, it's just sitting there. Like, what's the big deal? You know what I mean? Not everything is living forever on some album now. It's a different world, dude. And honestly, it's hard to adapt to. I can't stand the whole TikTok. Hey, you got to have snippets. You need these 15-second videos, and it's not my world. I'm just living in it. But as far as music goes, I love it because I write music all of the time, every day. That's pretty much what we all do. And it sucks because you write music all day, every day, and you get every 2 years, you got to put out 14 songs out of the hundreds you've worked on. So it's all that was always been very like, that part kind of stinks. So now we just write songs, we send them in, and they'll be like, yeah, let's put it out in a couple weeks. What the hell? That's a lot more fun. That at least is much, there's not so much weight on it. Oh, how did it do? Did it sell a gazillion copies? It's more like if it goes away with the next song that you put out. So there's less pressure on the song. We get to put out whatever we want whenever we want. It's kind of cool, artistically speaking. But everything has its wins and losses. But it's a different world, dude. We're just living in it, bro.
And as a musician, you have a tendency to be most excited about what you just completed, right? What you just worked on. And so the days of sitting on a record for a year, having it on the shelf, to come out later on down the line doesn't really work.
Well, dude, and you're sitting there, and then by the time you are putting out, you're like, oh, you want to change stuff. You're like, this doesn't sound right now. It's just a mind game. Um, you do like 9 mixes. It's like because you have too much time to think, and you start making it worse because you're in you have a vacuum in your head now. Um, to me, it's just not conducive to creativity. And then you're making more music when you're making music and this probably isn't even going to come out. You'll do it because you like doing it, but there's also this kind of ambivalence to the whole thing. It's like, well, what's the point? And so then, I would way rather just be able to write a song, and if we like it, put it out. If people don't like it, okay. Like, I don't care. I'd rather people like it, but if they don't, it's not like I'm like gonna, go walk off a bridge or something. So it's like let people listen to it. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. It's music. It's meant to be fluid. And those days, I think, where and I get it, for a record label, they needed those 14 songs to be perfect because it was propped up on a $10 million campaign of promotion. They can't afford for it not to succeed. And I understand that, but that's not the case anymore. So like, well, dude, let's rock and roll.
But circling back to what you said earlier, you mentioned Deftones, AFI. If you would have taken, White Pony and removed a song, or AFI's Sing the Sorrow and removed a song, and like you sometimes you had to live with those records to really absorb them and take them in, and like they had to grow on you a little bit. Now there's just seems like you're just instantly moving on to the next thing.
It's really, dude. I feel bad for people. Like, dude, they don't understand. Like, there a lot of my favorite songs, my favorite albums weren't even things I necessarily liked the first time I heard them. It was like a kind of like, I don't get it. And then over time, you go, oh, I see what's going on here. Or, oh, I see what he's doing here. Oh, I see, because you owned it, and it was yours, and it was like, the records were $20. I didn't have any money. I wasn't going to be able to buy another one, so I had to, whether I liked it or not, I was stuck with it. So I listened to it. And yeah, people are like, it's just like, dude, if the first like synth line in the first 10 seconds doesn't instantly hook them, they're on to the next thing. It's unfortunate, man, because it's just cheap dopamine hits now. And it's really cheapened the whole product. So there's definitely a disconnect, I think, between the creative process and the listener. And there's obviously those hardcore music fans out there that will always kind of be, that will listen to every word, and will, like, guys like me, and there are young kids who still really, really support music for what it is. But on a whole level, yeah, man, we're living in a pop driven world where it's like all they care about is how hooky it is. They don't care what you're saying or what the song's about. And it's an unfortunate byproduct of cheap dopamine hits, dude, which is what our society runs on, unfortunately.
But coming back to the new single, that's why it's so much more important that you have that real connection with the fans and that you interact with them and that you know you have that real relationship with them, because if you don't, it's just sort of vapid, right?
And no, absolutely. And they're like, when the song's like 4.5 minutes long, they're like, hey, that's a really long song. We're like, we don't care. Like, okay, it's supposed to be 3 minutes. It's got to be 3 minutes and 10 seconds. It's like, dude, who cares? Because at the end of the day, I'd much rather just write some real music that people like and keep it honest and keep the integrity there than, you know, there's plenty of time to write some dopey dance music if that's what people want. We're just not those guys. And there's plenty of people doing it. Um, and dude, don't get me wrong. I love like lighthearted, fun music and stuff. We write some of that stuff. There's a time and a place for it. And but you don't want to cheapen everything. There has to be some moments where it's like, yo, man, let's keep it the integrity there. I don't even like 7 minute songs, 8 minute songs. There's a point where it's like, dude, okay, this is too self-indulgent for me. But at the same time, this whole like, hey, it's got to be 2.5 minutes. It's got to this bridge core, the format and everything's got to be just this way. You're making your songs fit into the box of the product as opposed to the other way around. It's just like, I don't know. It doesn't mesh well. And it's like, I don't know. The whole point is, you're not supposed to necessarily, this is the way I've always looked at it, is people don't really know what they want. You have to show them. And as opposed to people aren't, you don't give them what they think that you don't give them what they think they want. You have to tell them what they want. Like most music that I've grown to care about a lot isn't something I was looking for. It's something that I was shown that I was like, whoa, dude, I didn't even know something like this existed. I want to be like, to be challenged, I guess would be the best term I can think of.
Yeah.
Like the first time you hear Tool, you're not like, it's not some like super accessible, like, oh yeah, who wouldn't get down to this? It takes some work. It takes some like, that's what music is supposed to do on some level, and that can get lost in the mix, I think.
But I think you're right. Music should challenge the listener. It shouldn't just be this easily digestible thing that, one hit and you're out. Like it has to break outside the box and color outside the line sometimes.
Yeah, totally, dude. I want to hear some weird time signatures. I want to hear some weird stuff. I don't want to be like, what the fuck is that guy talking about? That's what music is about. There's plenty, dude. The summer hit, don't get me wrong, dude. I'll be the first guy in the car like, like, hey, I'm ready to have a good time too. But there's a time and a place for all of it. And I feel like music has kind of lost some of that other vibe and that other flavor at times because, and there's always bands that are going to hold it down. Deftones, for instance, still makes like masterpieces every 2 years, in my opinion, that I can sit there and I go in a dark room and like drink some wine and like, oh, whoa, dude, what's going to happen then? Because they said they don't care about, they're not trying to fit, the status quo doesn't really matter to those dudes. They have that luxury. And there's still bands that do that. But in Bad Omens and Sleep Token, those are two bands that are still doing whatever it seems to me, whatever they want to do. And so respect to those guys. And hopefully, everything always comes full circle. And I feel like we're in one of those moments. You kind of see new metal, like make my daughter, dude, this tripped me out. I'll tell you something funny. She's in high school. She's 15. She's like, hey, do you know the guys in Insane Clown Posse? And I was like, what? Pardon me? And I was like, well, I've met them. She's like, well, they're playing in Nashville. Can you get me and my friends tickets? I was like, what? Apparently, Insane Clown Posse is like making a huge resurgence in high school age kids. The kids are wearing Jinko jeans,
Wallet
the whole
chains.
dude. I'm not kidding. And I was like, dude, I cannot believe that has that is coming back. So it just goes to show you, like, everything's full circle, bro. You're like, you know, so everything will make its way back in one way or the other. You know what I mean?
That's great. I love that. Well,
Yeah,
to
it's
wrap things
hilarious.
up,
So we're gonna go see ICP next month, bro.
make sure you bring a change of clothes. You're gonna get drenched in Fago.
I'm getting fuegoed, baby.
So to wrap things up, I appreciate all your time. What's next for Hollywood Undead? You got the new music on the horizon. This tour with Tech. What's coming up after that?
Yeah, new music. We got the tour with Tech in April, May in the States, US, Canada. We're going to Europe in the fall. I don't know what, I can't say with who. I'm not supposed to. So that, but definitely we have a few songs lined up. We're going to keep knocking those out of the park, hopefully, and hopefully everybody likes it. But really, that's it. New music, touring. Is there anything else that bands ever actually do besides those two things? No. So that's it, pretty much.
Well, awesome.
Let's
I'm
face
excited
it,
for
dude.
this
That's it.
tour. This tour is going to be great. I'm excited for it. I'll be at one of the Canadian shows, so it'll be a great time for everybody. I really urge
Oh, well,
everybody to
dude, come
check
say
it out.
hi. Come hang out with us, bro. Come kick it.
Absolutely awesome. Well,
All
thank you
right,
so much for
brother.
your time, and yeah, I appreciate you doing this. This will be up next week, so
Hey, my pleasure, brother. Anytime.
hey, thank you. Good night.
Cheers, brother.